Welcome to the Lend Academy podcast, episode number 145. This is your host, Peter Renton, founder of Lend Academy and co-founder of LendIt Fintech. This episode of the Lend Academy podcast is sponsored by Northridge Software, the platform behind some of the largest and most innovative lending companies in fintech. If you've gone to LendIt, chances are you've seen some of their customers. They chose Northridge Software because it allowed them to push to market faster, provided the flexibility that other platforms don't, and enabled them to go from startup to IPO. Learn more at northridge.com. We're doing something a little bit different on the show today, but it is something that we have done at this time every year, right before the big LendIt conference. LendIt Fintech USA 2018 is coming up in San Francisco, April 9 through 11, and it's going to be the biggest conference we have ever done. So what I wanted to do was bring on the LendIt content team. We're going to delve into the event in some depth. We'll be able to show people what to expect, all the different components of the event, and how to get the most out of it. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Okay, so before we get started, let's just go around so everybody knows who is on the phone here. And why don't we, let's just go around and introduce ourselves real quick.
All right, I guess I'll start. Hi, everybody. This is Jason Jones, one of the co-founders of LendIt. And over the last year, I've been working on launching our newest event, BlockFin, Blockchain for Financial Services.
Hey, everyone. This is Todd Anderson. I'm the Director of Content at LendIt and responsible for helping to build the agenda.
This is Ryan Lichtenwald. I am a content manager and journalist, and I also help build the content for LendIt, as well as writing quite a bit on Lend Academy as well.
Okay, thanks, guys. So I want to get started, and just before we even get into the preview of the show, what's been going on in fintech, we should start with a change that we made. We made this a few months ago now, where we changed our name from LendIt to LendIt Fintech. And maybe, Jason, you can sort of give us a little bit of background about that and why we decided to change the name of the event.
Sure. So first of all, it's a very subtle change, LendIt to LendIt Fintech. We didn't announce it. There was no fanfare made about it, no press release or anything like that. But it helps us slightly with our positioning. We love the name LendIt. It's a great, strong brand name, and we're well known in our industry. But the industry goes beyond just lending. We love lending, and it's a huge component of our event. But we've expanded to all areas of fintech, whether it's wealth management or payments or insurtech, real estate, all these different areas, plus all the technologies underlying them, AI and blockchain, cybersecurity and biometrics. These are all important parts of the financial services industry. We think of ourselves as positioned as innovation taking place in financial services, whether that is a big bank that's thinking about innovation, or whether that's a mid-sized fintech company or a two-person startup. We don't care. We're looking for the most innovative ideas coming out of fintech, and LendIt Fintech is positioned to capture those ideas, to focus the spotlight on them, and to learn from those entrepreneurs that are making such innovation happen.
Okay, so then let's start with those ideas, and maybe before we really get into the guts of the event, let's just talk about some of the trends that are happening in fintech today. So maybe I'll start with you, Todd, and just talk about what are some of the things that you're seeing in fintech today?
So what I think has been interesting, especially in the last 18 months, is that you've seen banks really go all in on digital, whether it's through acquisition or partnering with fintech companies. You've seen banks really start to make that transition into a more digital service. You have brands like Chase spinning out a new mobile brand with Fin. You also have banks like PNC starting their own consumer lending platforms. So I think what you've really seen is banks have noticed the success of fintech companies, as well as the success they've had with consumer experience. And banks have really gone all in with digital. And I think that's been a real big trend, especially in the last 18 months, the last year.
Yeah, and we're certainly seeing that when it comes to the registrations that are coming in. We've got more and more banks registering for LendIt than we've ever had before. So anyway, Ryan, what about you? What are you seeing in fintech lately?
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things, the past 2 or 3 months is with Amazon. I think people have been talking about Amazon for quite some time when they're really going to enter financial services. And there's really just been a flurry of news as of late. They talked a little bit about their originations of reaching $3 billion, which was interesting. They're partnering with Bank of America for their loans. A division of Amazon, I think it was the Alexa Fund, is investing in this debit card for kids. There's been talk about these checking accounts providing new credit cards for small businesses. They're hiring in a mortgage division apparently. So there's just been all this news on Amazon. It's all kind of finally coming to light, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see the developments over the next year or so.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Amazon. I mean, they are making so many moves out of the big sort of tech companies. They seem to be one that's most aggressively coming into finance. Okay, well, let's go to you, Jason. What are you seeing?
Well, I've been focused on the blockchain industry, and I'd say last year felt like the focus was really on AI and the emergence of AI. This year feels like the momentum or the spotlight has shifted to the blockchain. We created BlockFin because from a programming perspective, we saw so many blockchain companies that were being created, that were growing quickly, that were disrupting the industry. So we decided it was time to create this event within the event, BlockFin. And specifically in the financial services space, what we're seeing is basically all the different pieces of the financial services industry are being rethought and rebuilt on crypto. The core technologies that are kind of the protocol layers that are being rethought right now that are kind of completing or continuing to build on top of the internet include a wallet, reputation, identity, and voting are probably the core technologies that are being built. Once those protocols are put into the foundation, we're seeing all sorts of financial services companies that are thinking about how to build crypto first, whether it's a payments company or a custodian or companies that are thinking about the ability to do quarterly reporting, the kind of the Bloomberg type reference data set companies, obviously fund management, accounting and administration. All sorts of different companies are being created around the financial services industry that are thinking about how to be built on crypto.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I also just want to, I think we should also want to mention the online lending space. We've certainly seen, I would say, quite a bit of a rebound from where we were a year ago, where there's been, I'd say these companies are growing again. They're becoming profitable. They are certainly not as pessimistic as they were, a year or two ago. And it's when the people I speak with in the online lending space are certainly looking forward to this year to being the best year ever. And I think we'll see a lot more optimism, I think, at LendIt in that space. So anyway, let's get stuck into the nitty gritty of the event. And this is we're going to be at the Moscone Center, Moscone West specifically. And I know you've been there a couple of times, Jason, and looked at the venue there. Can you maybe just give the listeners a little bit of a breakdown of the structure of the venue?
Sure thing. So the Moscone Center is the largest convention center in San Francisco. It's a 3-floor building. The first floor will be a giant expo hall. The last few years, the buzz has been tremendous on the expo show floors. I feel like it's really the place to be for networking and learning about all the different companies that are in attendance. The second floor will be LendIt programming. We'll have a giant keynote stage as well as 8 tracks of content. And then the third floor will be the BlockFin programming. We'll have something called the Vision Stage, which we're structuring similar to a TED Talk style stage, where we have kind of industry visionaries get on stage and tell us about their vision of the future, what's the blockchain's role in their vision of the future. We'll also have two breakout presentation rooms up there for the BlockFin, as well as a ton of private meeting rooms. We'll have VIP concierge meetings, one-on-one meetings up there, as well as a token summit, which is a summit that matches token buyers with token sellers in a one-to-one fashion. And I think that pretty much sums up the structure of the event.
Okay, so maybe we could just, if you could, Jason, just go back and talk a little bit more about the BlockFin Summit. I mean, you obviously gave a very quick overview of it just then, but tell us a little bit about, who are some of the speakers coming? Who are the how is it going to be for people? Because there's going to be two kinds of attendees here at LendIt this year. There's going to be those that our regular attendees who have been attending for a while. Obviously, we'll have plenty of new people, but there'll be people going to the BlockFin Summit who are not blockchain, domain experts, but there'll also be those people who are really signing up just for the BlockFin Summit. So tell us a little bit about how it's going to work.
Sure. So, like I mentioned before, the amount of programming that we're dedicating to blockchain has just increased every year. And this year we felt like we had to just dedicate a new event, basically on a new floor, new programming to it. We'll have 190 speakers speaking on the blockchain. That will include people in the vision stage as well as the breakout rooms, panels on the breakout rooms. The reason why we think it's really interesting and different than most of the other blockchain conferences out there is because of the audience profile. Right now, pretty much anyone who hosts a blockchain event sells out. It's just that's the stage of the cycle that we're in right now. So, but most of the people that go to those events are other crypto people. In this case, we have a huge crypto audience that's coming, but we also have the entire LendIt FinTech audience of kind of business decision makers, technologists, investors, and business development people who are thinking about innovation in financial services across all of financial services and want to understand what's happening in the blockchain space. So as a result, right now, just check the stats, 33% of our audience are fintech companies. Many of those fintech companies are thinking about what is their blockchain strategy. Another 29% of our audience are banks and financial institutions. Many of them will be thinking about what's their blockchain strategy. And another, I think it was 12 or 15%, something in that range, were investors. And obviously they're investing in many of these blockchain companies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, I want to actually talk about what's going to happen on the Tuesday night. We have the awards show happening. Todd, do you want to just tell us a little bit about the awards show for this year? It's our second annual.
Sure. So the award show is going to be taking place on the night of April 10th. It's going to be at One Market, and the festivities will begin around 6:30 p.m. This is our second annual award show, and seeing the response this year, it's gotten certainly a lot bigger and better than last year. Overall, we've received more than 500 applications from fintech companies, banks, and these applications have been from all over the world. We've seen European companies, Indian companies, China companies, companies in Africa. So I think we've really captured the essence of fintech and financial services with the award show. In total, we have 21 awards that will be awarded the night of the award show. And we also have our Best in Show, which is awarded to the best booth on the expo floor. We also have more than 30 judges that will represent fintech. And these are judges that are both from the U.S. and from around the globe. So we've really seen a great response to the award show. We're looking to a fun, happy evening. And, we're looking forward to see who wins. Right now, they're going through the judging process with our judges, and we're looking forward to having an exciting evening.
Indeed we are. And just on that, so everyone knows, LendIt actually does not choose the winners whatsoever. We have no idea right now who's going to win, and we choose the finalists, and then we hand it over to our esteemed judging panelists who then will select the winner. So that way we can't show any favoritism, and it's going to be just as much a surprise to us as it is for everybody else. Okay, so let's move on. One of the other things that we've done every year for some time now is our demo stage. Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So last year, what we did was we put our company demo stage in the middle of the expo floor, and we thought that worked really well. So we decided to do it again this year for 2018. And so in the stage is called our Innovation Demo Hub. In the middle of the expo hall, and over the course of 2 days, we'll hear from many companies And basically it's a 10-minute demo or short presentation, and it's kind of one after another. You get a sense of kind of what the company is doing, some of the innovative things that they're working on, and then we move on to the next. So really looking forward to having that stage again, and it continues to draw a lot of interest kind of just because of where it's located. So.
Okay. And then back again, we're also having for, I think this is the 4th year, Pitch It at LendIt. Todd, you want to give us a bit of a rundown on Pitch It?
Sure. So this is our annual startup competition at the event. And this year we've received more than 150 applications from fintech startups in all different categories, from AI to blockchain to data, digital identity, and bank technology. We have judges from some of the best VC firms, including 500 Startups, Greylock Partners, City Ventures, and Core Innovation Capital. Additionally, this year, we're also having live fundraising. This was something that we initiated at LendIt Europe, and now we're bringing over to LendIt Fintech USA, where companies immediately following Pitch It will be pitching to live fundraise at the conference. It's going to kick off on day one, and the companies in live fundraising will pitch on the Innovation Demo Hub stage right after Pitch It concludes. And so you'll have a chance to not only see the Pitch It competition, but you can also see live fundraising. And these companies come from all different stages, all different focuses, from AI to blockchain, data, digital identity, bank technology. So we're looking for an exciting day of Pitch It and live fundraising on the Innovation Demo Hub stage.
Indeed. Okay. And then obviously a lot of people come to LendIt to network, and we have the LendIt app and Brella that are both live right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. So over the years, we've continued to kind of leverage the mobile app as a way to better connect our attendees. And we've continued to develop that. Last year, we introduced Brella, and Peter, as you mentioned, the app is now live. So if you are registered for the event, I highly recommend you go download the app. So, there's already folks who are setting up meetings. I actually already received a meeting request for the event as well. And so when you log in, you can kind of easily, import, like for instance, a LinkedIn profile. And then within the app, there's Brella, and that is our one-on-one kind of meeting tool. So at the event, there'll be tables set up, and you can request meetings with folks through the app, and then they can either accept or decline them. And then for that scheduled time, you'll be assigned a table, and you can have a quick chat. It's, all of our attendees are within Brella. And so that's the best way to communicate with folks, with such a large event. So we've been really happy with that technology. And of course, also within the app, you have the agenda, floor map. So really everything that you need is within the app. And that's something that we've spent quite a lot of time on. So definitely Go out and download the app.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you don't download the app and also connect with Brella, you're not going to get the most out of the event. So I think it's a must for everybody. And just one thing just to add on Brella, I think it's really cool is you can tell it what your interests are, who the kinds of people you want to meet, and it will actually make suggestions for you. It's like, here are some people that represent the interests, and these people will say, these are who I want to meet. So you often it's not just going in completely cold. With a lot of these people. So anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about workshops, because this is for the first time ever we're having workshops on day 3 of the event. Todd, can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. So we actually tested the workshops within the framework of the agenda last year, and it was such a good response that we wanted to put together workshops for day 3 this year. So these occur on April 11th. From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And they really focus on topics that we want to dig a little bit deeper into. So we have a Success Through Diversity workshop that features a lot of diverse speakers. It's focused on issues of women in the workplace, women in the fintech workplace. We have a bank technology workshop with 500 Fintech and Deloitte, who've now partnered on Upside Partners. We have a blockchain-focused workshop with Consensus Academy. We have a RegTech workshop that focuses on regulatory technology. And we also, the reason behind putting these workshops together is really to dig a little bit deeper into topics. So not just to have a panel or a couple of presentations. We want the audience interaction. We want questions. We want to hear from those who've just seen a presentation or just seen a case study. We want to go through, we want to get people interacted. We want to dig a little bit deeper. And so that's why we've gone to just testing the workshops last year to now doing a full morning of workshops. So you'll see the 6 workshops on the agenda. And I forgot to include financial AI in that workshop batch that I went through, but you'll see them on the agenda. And we're really looking forward to digging a little bit deeper into these specific topics. And it's something that we've had a little bit success with, but we're really excited to bring in a more robust way here this year.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about the workshops. They're more interactive and they're longer. So the sessions, you can really get into a topic in more depth. And, I think it's going to be a really valuable tool for everybody. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about media coverage. We have a ton of media coming. Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about the media?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most underappreciated parts of our event. We get 150 to 200 members of the media that come to our event, and we have 5,000 attendees and hundreds of people who want to get their name out for one thing or another. So my advice to anyone coming to LendIt is think about what you want to say to the media. Prepare a product launch, a new client, a new employee that's come to your business, an acquisition. These are great things to talk about or announce either right before LendIt or at LendIt, so that you can head in with the intent to network and meet with lots of members of the media, and use the platform as a way to get your name out there into the news and have it amplified through our platform.
Mm-hmm, indeed. And finally, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the agenda, Ryan, let's just talk about the expo hall, what people can expect there.
Yeah, so as Jason kind of mentioned when he was going through the venue, we have our large expo hall with between 200 and 250 exhibitors. I actually checked with our team, and this will be the largest showing in terms of number of exhibitors. So the room should be quite a buzz. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have the demo stage in the middle of the expo hall as well.
Okay, so now let's dive into the content. Yeah, we're covering a lot like we always do, and Todd, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of how the agenda is structured?
Sure. So as Jason mentioned earlier, the event is on 3 floors, and so on those 3 floors we have content on each floor. The second floor, the main content hall, so to speak, is where the event will kick off. And so what we've done is we've structured the agenda so the different pieces of the content stagger when they start. So for example, the event will kick off on April 9th at 8:30 a.m. with opening remarks, and then we'll move into the first keynote session. The keynotes will run from 8:30 to 10:30. The BlockFin Summit, which Jason mentioned earlier, is on the 3rd floor. That begins with the vision stage at 10 a.m. So the keynote started at 8:30, the vision stage starts at 10, and then we have company demos on the 1st floor start at 10:30. So it's a staggered start to content, with the keynotes being the first thing to kick off the event. And after the morning break at 10:50, we'll move into panel discussions on the 2nd and 3rd floor. We have the 2nd floor, our main content hall. We'll kick off with 6 simultaneous panel rooms. And on the 3rd floor, the BlockFin Summit panels will also kick off. And so the content is a staggered start, and then we'll move in with different stages of content throughout the day. After lunch, we come back for keynotes in the main keynote hall at 1:30 p.m. So we've structured the event slightly differently than last year, where we had a lot of the content start almost at the same time across the event and throughout the event. This year, we've done a little bit of a staggered start and featured different pieces of content starting at different times to feature it in different ways. So we're really excited about the agenda that we've built. We think it's diverse. We think it captures a lot of what's going on in fintech today. And we're really excited to bring you these different types of content pieces that I think everyone will get a great response to.
Okay, so let's just dive in a little bit let's do the BlockFin Summit first. And what are some of the topics that are going to be covered there, Jason?
Sure. Let's see. We're going to start with talk about the future of money and the future of crypto with money. We'll interview crypto fund managers. We'll talk about market infrastructure, whether it's bank-to-bank payments or custody, administration, kind of all the back office market infrastructure services. We'll look at the state of regulation, both in the U.S. and in Asia, as well as abroad. We will talk about messaging and payments is another topic we're going to cover. Enterprise supply chain is a big topic. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head right now.
Okay. And then, Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit about what some of the other pieces of the agenda, like the real estate, asset-backed financing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. So on the real estate side, we have our digital real estate track. This is where we'll really cover digital mortgages. I think, there's an incredible amount of interest from speakers wanting to talk about this. And so we'll be covering kind of how to complete like a end-to-end digital mortgage process. We have some data companies coming. So we're going to talk about interesting ways to apply data into real estate. Also in the real estate, we'll have our residential and commercial real estate track. So we'll have some of the leaders there speaking about kind of the institutionalization of online real estate. We have a couple new names, some more offline lenders that are going to speak. We have this interesting panel about kind of solving for the affordable home crisis, some very interesting and innovative companies there. On the asset-based financing track, we will cover equipment finance, kind of what the opportunity is there. We will cover auto. We think that's also a sector that's really gotten a lot of traction over the last year with a lot of interesting service providers and partnerships. And then we're covering solar, which is kind of a new topic for this year. There's been a lot of traction in the space. There's a lot of interest. There's some interesting investment opportunities. And so we'll cover that as well. Okay.
And then Todd, I know you've been diving into, financial AI and cybersecurity and whatnot. Why don't you tell us what's in store there?
Sure. So, I know that we've mentioned it a little bit throughout the call, but, financial AI has really been a trendy topic for the last couple of years, and we've seen it perform very well at our conference. And so what we wanted to do this year was really kind of consolidate that into a track. In the past, we've done it spliced throughout different tracks and different sessions. We really wanted to highlight it all together. We've seen financial AI across fintech and banking really take off. And so we wanted to, put together a track that talks about, how to democratize data using AI, how to improve the consumer experience using AI. And so we really wanted to highlight the different facets of AI that are currently being used. So it's a lot of talk about what's currently being used today. And I think we've put together a really good, diverse track that can speak to fintechs and banks. And cybersecurity is it's a new topic for us. It's a new track for us with the amount of attention that some of the big hacks have gotten. So we wanted to put together a track that focuses on how do you protect your data? How do you account for some of the downstream effects that after a hack happens, kind of what happens to, potential customers, potential clients. And then also, how can employees within a firm protect themselves better, which in turn can then protect, the firm and the company better. So I think those two are really interesting and diverse tracks. And then we also, feature our international fintech track, which focuses on a few different regions this year. We have India, which talks about wealth management potentially being a really big new opportunity, as well as lending in India, which has really been sustained and been a big driver of fintech in India. We're also covering China, which is obviously one of the biggest fintech markets in the world, and Latin America as well. And then for the first time, we're going to have Africa-focused content on the international track. So really, if you look across, whether it's the financial AI, cybersecurity, international, I think you'll really find that a lot of this is diverse. It's It's keeping up with what's currently going on and features lots of interesting and new names. I think right now we're trending at about 55, 56% new speakers overall. So I think you really get some fresh and interesting voices this year.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And of course, we've got some fantastic content for the online lending community. Our credit and underwriting track has, some great stuff in here, like making real-time credit decisions. You've got a piece on synthetic fraud, machine learning, and on the small business lending track, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is this interesting piece about the convergence of payments and lending. We've got a really fascinating session about push payments that I'm looking forward to. On the consumer lending track, we have all the big names that you would expect are here. I'm actually going to be moderating a panel, a CEO roundtable with some of the leading platforms about talking about sort of the more how to sort of succeed in this more competitive market now. That it's much more competitive than it has ever been. And of course, we also have financial inclusion, one of my pet projects that where we'll be covering in depth a variety of different topics there. And in policy and regulation, we've got several people from the government coming out to San Francisco to speak, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them. So anyway, we're almost out of time, unfortunately. But I'd like to end with just talking about the keynote speakers. Maybe we could just go around and talk about who you're looking forward to hearing from on the keynote stage. And maybe, Ryan, we can start with you.
Yeah, so I'm most excited about hearing from Max Levchin of Affirm. He is a new speaker for us, and I think the point of sale space is just fascinating. So really interested to hear what he has to say.
Okay, Jason?
Okay, so one of the keynote firms was Scott Tenberthy from Google. We tracked down their AI team, and first thing I learned was that Google doesn't have a CTO. They actually have an office of CTO, which are 8 different people, Scott being one of them. Scott was head of financial services sector in the CTO office, and recently he's moved to become the head of the director of applied AI for financial services. So what was really interesting is that Google has spent $30 billion building the Google Compute Platform. GCP is very similar to Amazon AWS, IBM Watson, Microsoft Azure. Most people think of it as a cloud storage solution, but really what it is it's a giant AI machine. And they want to bring as many companies as possible onto this platform now that it's built to utilize their AI technology. And one of the things Scott told me was that, the amount of the cost that went into building this platform is unbelievably expensive. And it's something that most financial services companies can't justify for themselves. Thus, he's talking to many of the top banks and financial institutions about moving their back office infrastructure over to the Google Compute Platform. I'm really excited to hear more about what's going to happen.
Okay, and Todd, who are you looking forward to?
I think it'd be really interesting to see the head of the PVSI division at Wells Fargo, Avid Mojtabai. And Avid, she basically heads up almost 40,000 employees. And, their PVSI division is basically their innovation division. And so I think it'd be really fascinating to hear from her about some of the things that Wells Fargo is currently doing. And I think it's going to be an interesting discussion with her, as well as some of the other keynotes that we've mentioned.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to everybody. Scott Sanborn, I'm very much looking forward to him kicking off the event again with sort of a call to action for the industry. And of course, we have Michael Lewis, the person who has written several best-selling books that have been made into great movies, like The Big Short and Moneyball, and fascinated to hear what he has to say. And of course, we have the return of Renaud Laplanche to the LendIt keynote stage, and he has a big announcement to make, which we're all very interested in hearing about. But anyway, unfortunately, we're out of time. We had more topics to cover, but we are out of time today, guys. So thank you all for sharing with me today and for helping the LendIt audience get the most out of the show.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay,
Thanks,
see you
Peter.
guys. Bye. If you've listened this far, you're probably already coming to LendIt Fintech, and I thank you for that. If you haven't registered, you can do so still all the way up to the day of the event. You can go to lendit.com and click register. Make sure you use the Lend Academy VIP discount code. It gives you 15% off the ticket price. So go ahead and do that. If you've already registered, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you at this show. Please come up and say hi. Always love to hear from Lend Academy podcast listeners. On that note, I will sign off. I very much appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. This episode of the Lend Academy podcast was sponsored by Nortridge Software, the platform behind some of the largest and most innovative lending companies in fintech. If you've gone to LendIt, chances are you've seen some of their customers. They chose Nortridge Software because it allowed them to push to market faster, provided the flexibility that other platforms don't, and enabled them to go from startup to IPO. Learn more at nortridge.com.